Ella raced across the grassy field, her eyes fixed on the sky. Her favorite red kite danced wildly in the wind, soaring higher and higher. Suddenly, the string slipped from her hand. She gasped as the kite soared over the fence and disappeared into the thick woods beyond. Without a second thought, Ella squeezed through a narrow gap in the fence and followed the fluttering tail, her heart pounding with both worry and excitement. Deeper among the trees, she spotted the kite tangled high in a branch, just out of reach. As she tried to climb, a voice called out, "Need some help?" A boy about her age appeared, holding a long stick. Together they stretched and poked, laughing when the stick kept slipping from the branches. Finally, with a gentle tug, the kite floated down into Ella's hands. She beamed. "Thank you so much," she said. The boy grinned and introduced himself as Max. They sat beneath the tree, sharing stories about their favorite games and dreams for the future. Before heading home, Max showed Ella a secret shortcut out of the woods. As they walked back side by side, Ella realized she'd found something even better than her lost kite, a new friend to share the sky with. The backstage corridor pulsed with nervous energy as Eliza adjusted her bow tie, violin case in hand. She spotted Luca waiting by the curtain, his eyes flickering with a secret only he knew. The competition was moments away, and every second felt charged with anticipation. As Eliza brushed past, Luca opened his case just enough for her to glimpse a folded sheet of music perched atop his strings. Without a word, he slid it toward her with a subtle nod. Heart pounding, Eliza tucked the unfamiliar score into her own case, careful not to draw attention from the other competitors. In the dim light behind the stage, she carefully unfurled the paper. The notes danced in unfamiliar patterns, a melody laced with coded rhythms and hidden meaning. She studied the piece, recognizing motifs from her own repertoire cleverly woven with subtle variations. The music called for improvisation, for daring choices that would reveal the message only to those who listened closely. When her turn arrived, Eliza stepped onto the stage, the mysterious sheet music hidden beneath her own. As she played, the new melody slipped seamlessly into her performance, weaving through familiar passages with unexpected twists. Judges exchanged glances, captivated by the fresh brilliance in her interpretation. In the wings, Luca watched intently, a small smile of satisfaction crossing his face. The secret message had been delivered, through music, undetected and unforgettable. Snow fell in thick, relentless sheets, blanketing the city in icy silence. Rookie Detective Clara Evans squinted through the swirling white, breath steaming as she followed fresh footprints along the narrow alley. Somewhere ahead, a shadow darted between flickering streetlights, a thief, nimble and bold, clutching a stolen satchel tightly. Clara pressed on, boots crunching against the frozen ground, heart pounding louder than the howling wind. Each step was a gamble. The snow masked uneven pavement and erased the thief's path almost as quickly as it appeared. But Clara refused to lose. Ducking under a sagging fire escape, she glimpsed movement, a flash of dark coat disappearing behind a dumpster. She drew closer, every muscle tense, senses sharp. Suddenly the thief slipped, crashing into the snow with a harsh grunt. Clara seized the chance, closing the gap swiftly. The thief scrambled up, but Clara tackled them, both sliding across the frozen ground. For a moment they stared at each other, young faces, both shivering, both determined. Clara's grip was firm, unyielding. The blizzard howled around them, but inside she felt a surge of triumph. She had caught her mark, proving herself in the biting cold of the chase. Under a silver moon, the midnight library glowed with secrets waiting to be uncovered. Whiskers twitching, Marzipan and Licorice crept silently along the shadowy shelves, their paws barely making a sound on the polished wood floor. The forbidden book, embossed with a shimmering golden fish, rested atop the tallest stack, untouched for years. No cat had ever dared to reach it before. Marzipan leapt, agile as a whisper, while Licorice kept vigilant watch by the stained glass window, eyes sharp for any sign of movement. Humans slumbered in distant rooms. Only the gentle tick of an ancient clock marked the passage of time. With a careful nudge, Marzipan dislodged the book. It slid, thumping softly onto a velvet cushion below. Licorice flicked her tail, signaling the coast was clear. Together they nudged and pulled, guiding the heavy tome across the floor with delicate precision. The window, left ajar to welcome the cool night breeze, beckoned invitingly. With a synchronized push, the book tumbled onto the soft grass outside. The cats slipped after it, vanishing into the moonlit garden. Behind them, the library remained undisturbed, its greatest secret now in feline paws, ready to be explored beneath the stars. The elevator jolted to a halt between floors, lights flickering erratically. Anna pressed the emergency button repeatedly, her heart pounding in her chest. Across from her, a man in a tailored suit calmly adjusted his tie, seemingly unfazed by their predicament. Minutes stretched into hours, the silence growing heavier with each passing moment. Small talk fizzled out quickly, leaving only the hum of the stalled elevator. Anna's phone battery drained to zero. The man's phone remained off, untouched. Sweat beaded on Anna's brow as she glanced nervously at his locked briefcase. He caught her gaze and smiled faintly. "You're curious," he said softly. "What's inside?" Anna hesitated, swallowing hard. "I just want to get out," she whispered. He nodded slowly. "We all want something," he replied. The silence thickened again. Desperation rising, Anna reached for the panel, prying at it with her nails. The man set his briefcase down and clicked it open. For a heartbeat, Anna's breath caught. Inside were only papers and a faded photograph. "My daughter," he explained quietly, showing her the worn image. Anna's shoulders sagged with relief. She pulled out her own wallet and revealed a photo of her son. The tension between them cracked, replaced by a fragile understanding. When the doors finally slid open, both stepped out, strangers no longer. In the corridor's harsh fluorescent light, they exchanged a nod, each carrying secrets, but lighter for having shared the weight. Snowflakes danced gently as the townspeople gathered, each clutching a lantern that shimmered with colors unseen on ordinary nights. Little Elsie held her blue lantern tightly, eyes wide with wonder, following the glowing trail that wound through the frosted streets. The parade was a beloved tradition, a night when the town seemed to sparkle with quiet magic. But tonight, Elsie noticed one lantern shining brighter than all the rest, drifting slowly away from the crowd. Her heart pounding with curiosity, she tiptoed after it, watching as it floated toward the silent woods at the edge of town. There, beneath an ancient oak tree, the lantern hovered just above a patch of untouched snow. Elsie knelt down to look closer and discovered a tiny door carved into the tree's gnarled trunk. It creaked open, revealing a warm, cozy chamber aglow with miniature lanterns and soft laughter. Inside, woodland creatures, mice wrapped in scarves, a fox wearing spectacles, were gathered, celebrating their own secret festival. The bright lantern winked at Elsie, inviting her to join the joyful revelry. She smiled, feeling a thrill of wonder, knowing she had uncovered a hidden world of magic right in her own town. At midnight, Willoughby's silence shattered. Mrs. Pippin's teapot whistled without flame, steam curling into the cool air. Mayor Brinkley's spectacles slipped and danced off his nose, leading him down the cobblestone main street in a daze. All over town, tiny gadgets whirred to life, spinning, flashing, darting through shadows like mischievous fireflies. The townsfolk, roused and bewildered, spilled onto the streets in nightgowns and slippers, chasing runaway trinkets that zipped past startled cats and startled them in turn. At the heart of the commotion stood the old clockmaker's shop, its doors flung wide, gears spinning inside like a living, breathing machine. Young Elsie, swiftest and most determined of the bunch, spotted a glint beneath the lamplight and dashed after a silver mouse scurrying toward the square. As she caught it, a hidden panel popped open, revealing a delicate brass key and a folded note. "To those who seek, let curiosity guide you." The townspeople gathered, panting and wide-eyed, gadgets clutched tightly in their hands. Together, they inserted the key into the clockmaker's ancient grandfather clock. With a deep, resonant chime, the clock swung open to reveal a secret room filled with intricate inventions, whirring cogs, glowing orbs, and delicate mechanisms, and a map promising more wonders hidden beyond Willoughby's borders, waiting to be discovered. Under the cloak of midnight, Silas pressed himself against the museum's cold marble wall, heart steady despite the chill. The city's distant sirens faded into silence, leaving only the soft hum of electricity within the grand halls. He studied the blueprints one last time, memorizing the path. With a gloved hand, he retrieved a slender lockpick from his pocket. The ancient door yielded with a soft click, granting him entry. Inside, moonlight spilled across ancient statues and glass cases, casting long shadows. Silas moved like a whisper, carefully avoiding the red web of security lasers crisscrossing the floor. His target waited in the Egyptian wing, a small, unassuming box rumored to hold secrets lost to time. He disabled the alarm with delicate precision, then lifted the lid. Inside, a shimmering scarab pendant gleamed, its surface catching the faint light. Suddenly, footsteps echoed down the corridor. Holding his breath, Silas ducked behind a towering sarcophagus. A guard passed, flashlight sweeping the room, oblivious to the intruder's presence. When silence returned, Silas slipped away, artifact secured. As he vanished into the night, the museum's secrets remained undisturbed, except for one missing piece. When the clock struck midnight at Moonlight Bakery, 3 mice, Pip, Tilda, and Sprout, peeked cautiously from behind a flour sack. Their goal was clear, to gather the golden crumbs left scattered on the counter after the day's baking. But one obstacle patrolled the bakery. Whiskers, the formidable security cat, whose sharp green eyes glowed ominously in the dark. Pip whispered, "We must stick to the shadows and move quietly." Tilda nodded, clutching a tiny string they had found earlier near the pantry door. Sprout kept a careful eye on Whiskers, who snoozed on a chair, tail flicking occasionally. Pip led the way, darting swiftly under tables and chairs. Tilda tiptoed behind, using the string to pull a spoon off the counter. The metallic clang echoed through the room. Whiskers' ears twitched sharply. Sprout froze, heart pounding wildly. Whiskers leapt down, nose twitching as he sniffed the air. Pip quickly gestured, and the mice ducked behind a rolling pin just in time. Whiskers prowled past, distracted by the fallen spoon. Quietly, the mice scurried to the counter, grabbing crumbs and seeds with eager paws. Just as Whiskers turned back, they slipped through a narrow crack in the wall, crumbs in tow. Outside, under the gentle moonlight, the trio celebrated their daring success, bellies full and spirits high, already dreaming of their next midnight adventure. The sun hung motionless, a molten coin in the pale sky, casting long shadows over the cracked earth. Lena and Wyatt faced each other, boots planted firmly, hands hovering just above their worn holsters. The town's only clock struck 12, its chime echoing sharply through the empty street. Years of rivalry, whispered grudges, and silent challenges had led to this moment. Lena's eyes narrowed, recalling every slight, every race lost to her older brother's quick draw and quicker wit. Wyatt's jaw tightened, his pride as unyielding as the desert stone beneath them. A tumbleweed rolled slowly between them, pausing as if to witness history unfolding. Fingers twitched, breaths held tight in chests. Then, in a sudden blur, Lena drew first. Her shot cracked the heavy silence, sending Wyatt's hat spinning across the dust. Wyatt's grin flickered, a mix of surprise and respect, and he tipped his hatless head toward her. "You finally beat me, sis," he said quietly. Relief and pride tangled in Lena's chest as she lowered her pistol, laughter breaking the tension like a cool breeze. Wyatt joined in, the duel dissolving into shared grins and unspoken forgiveness. From behind shuttered windows, townsfolk peeked out, witnessing not a tragedy, but a truce forged in the relentless desert sun. Together, Lena and Wyatt walked off the dusty street. Their long-standing feud settled beneath the endless sky. Zorp had studied Earth customs for weeks, determined to impress the humans with a flawless tea party. The invitations were written in wobbly English, and the table was set with mismatched mugs, flower pots, and for some reason, one shiny boot placed at the center. When guests arrived, Zorp greeted them by bowing low and offering a handshake with 3 of his 7 fingers. The humans exchanged puzzled glances, but smiled politely, unsure whether to be amused or concerned. Zorp poured the tea, actually warm carrot juice, into the largest mug, then added a generous scoop of strawberry jam, stirring it vigorously. He handed it to Mrs. Cartwright, who bravely took a sip and tried not to blink or cough. For snacks, Zorp served thin slices of cucumber on pancakes, insisting they be eaten with chopsticks. Every time someone tried to correct his method, Zorp would nod enthusiastically and then balance a teacup on his head, as if that proved his mastery of etiquette. As the afternoon wore on, Zorp attempted to start a toast by raising his mug and humming a strange tune, causing the humans to exchange amused looks. By the end of the gathering, everyone was laughing, though no one was quite sure why. Zorp beamed, convinced he had mastered the mysterious art of Earth tea parties, certain his etiquette was truly out of this world. Jamie loved exploring the old house, especially the creaky attic filled with forgotten treasures and dusty memories. One rainy afternoon, while rummaging through ancient trunks and boxes, Jamie discovered a small leather-bound diary with an ornate brass lock. The key, surprisingly, dangled from a faded ribbon nearby, as if waiting to be found. Jamie's heart thumped with excitement as the lock clicked open. Inside, the pages were filled with neat handwriting, but none of it made sense. Lines of symbols, zigzag patterns, and strange shapes covered every page. No words Jamie recognized. Was it a secret code? Who could have written it? Jamie spent hours copying the symbols onto scrap paper, wondering if the diary hid a secret message or just the wild imagination of someone long ago. At dinner, Jamie asked Grandma about the attic and the mysterious diary. She smiled mysteriously and said, "Some secrets are waiting for the right person to find them, and sometimes to understand them." That night, Jamie tucked the diary carefully under the pillow, determined to crack its code. The attic, once just a dusty, forgotten room, now felt alive with the promise of hidden stories and adventures yet to come. Midnight in the old house, and a tabby named Clover prowled the creaky floorboards with quiet curiosity. The humans slept soundly upstairs, unaware of the chill that crept beneath the doors and whispered through the empty halls. Clover paused suddenly. There, pressed into the thick layer of dust, were tiny, wet footprints, far too small for any human, too delicate for the neighbor's dog. They glistened faintly in the pale moonlight, leading down the narrow hallway toward the closed guest room at the end. Clover's tail twitched with intrigue. She sniffed the air, catching a whiff of something cool and unfamiliar, a scent that made her fur stand on end. Step by cautious step, she followed the prints, her paws silent on the worn wooden floor. The footprints stopped abruptly at the guest room door. Clover pressed her nose to the crack, ears flicking attentively. Inside, the air was noticeably colder, heavy with a quiet stillness. With a gentle push, the door creaked open just enough to peer inside. The room was empty, save for a faded photograph resting on the dresser, of a young girl smiling softly, a cat curled peacefully on her lap. Clover's fur bristled as the footprints vanished before her eyes, dissolving slowly into the moonlit floor. The house returned to silence once more, but Clover knew deep down she was not alone. In a quiet town, nestled between cobblestone streets and drifting autumn leaves, lived a lonely boy named Eli. Every day after school, he pressed his nose against the window of Mr. Alder's clock shop, mesmerized by the countless ticking wonders inside. The clocks chimed in harmony, filling the air with a gentle melody that seemed to whisper secrets of time itself. One chilly evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Mr. Alder beckoned Eli inside. With a warm smile, he handed him a delicate clock with shimmering golden hands and intricate engravings. "This clock," whispered the old clockmaker, "grants one true wish at midnight, but choose wisely." That night, Eli clutched the clock tightly in bed, his heart pounding with hope and wonder. As the clock's hands aligned at midnight, he closed his eyes and wished softly, "I want a friend." The next morning, a gentle knock echoed through his quiet home. Outside stood a girl named Mira, holding a small note that read, "Let's be friends." From that day forward, laughter and joy filled Eli's world, and every hour felt brighter and more alive. The magical clock remained on his shelf, its hands forever paused at midnight, a timeless reminder that sometimes the smallest gears of magic can mend the loneliest hearts. At midnight, when the city's heart beat slow and the streets lay silent under a silver moon, Whiskers the silver tabby slinked through shadows outside the Grand Antiquities Museum. Her emerald eyes glinted with cunning as she squeezed through a half-open window, tail flicking with eager anticipation. Inside, the moonlight danced softly across polished marble floors and ancient statues, casting long, eerie shadows. Whiskers paused, ears twitching. Distant footsteps echoed faintly. Two guards strolled past, deep in conversation about their favorite football teams, unaware of the silent intruder. She crouched behind a towering suit of armor, barely breathing, muscles coiled like springs. The guards passed, oblivious to the secret visitor. With a silent leap, Whiskers scaled a heavy tapestry, claws finding perfect holds in the fabric. She crept along a narrow beam high above the floor, gaze fixed on her prize. A golden clockwork mouse displayed atop a velvet pedestal. A web of red laser beams crisscrossed the glass case, a deadly trap for any careless hand. Whiskers calculated, tail swaying with measured patience. Then, with lightning speed, she darted, twisting and weaving through the beams with feline grace, landing softly beside the mouse. A gentle nudge, and the clockwork mouse rolled smoothly into her paws. Whiskers grinned, whiskers bristling with triumph and satisfaction. She vanished into the shadows as silently as she had come, leaving behind only a faint paw print as a mysterious calling card for those who might dare to follow. Sam woke up humming, certain today would be special. He'd spent weeks planning his birthday party, streamers, balloons, cake, and a carefully written list of friends he couldn't wait to see. As afternoon sunlight slanted through the window, Sam waited by the door, heart fluttering with anticipation. Minutes slipped by, then hours. The silence grew heavy, pressing down on his excitement. His parents offered gentle smiles and extra slices of cake, but Sam's gaze stayed fixed on the empty driveway, hoping for a car to pull up. Across town, Maya stared at her messy desk, a crumpled envelope peeking from under a pile of homework. She gasped, realizing she'd never seen Sam's invitation. Panic rose as she hurriedly called her friends, but none had received theirs either. In the rush of daily life, the stack of invitations Sam had so carefully addressed had been forgotten in a kitchen drawer, never sent out. As dusk settled, Maya appeared on Sam's porch, apology in hand and eyes full of regret. Understanding dawned between them, softening the disappointment. They ended the day with laughter and a promise. Next year, no invitations needed, just friends who remember and show up. Rain pattered softly on broken windows as Emma wandered the deserted office tower, her footsteps echoing through the vast empty halls. She was searching for inspiration, a spark to ignite her creativity, but what she found was something far stranger. A single, flickering elevator light glowing faintly in the dimness. The doors slid open silently, as if expecting her arrival. Inside, the panel bore only one button, marked with a faded symbol she didn't recognize, worn by time. Against her better judgment, driven by a mix of curiosity and unease, Emma stepped inside. The doors closed behind her with a hiss, and the elevator lurched downward, descending far past the building's lowest floor. The air grew colder, the lights dimming to a faint, ghostly glow. Suddenly, the elevator stopped. The doors slid open to reveal a long corridor lined with identical doors, each one slightly ajar, inviting yet ominous. She stepped out, curiosity outweighing fear. Behind her, the elevator vanished, replaced by a blank, unyielding wall. Heart pounding, Emma reached for the nearest door and pushed it open. Inside, she saw herself, sitting at a desk, writing, completely absorbed and oblivious to the world around her. The other doors creaked open one by one, revealing more versions of herself, each trapped in endless, looping moments. Emma realized she had stumbled upon a place where choices echoed forever, where every path she might take was frozen in time, and the way back had disappeared without a trace. Beneath the rattling hum of the washing machine, a bright blue sock wriggled free from the tangled pile. With a daring leap, it tumbled to the laundry room floor, rolling beneath the door and into the unknown. The hallway stretched like a vast, open plain, its carpet a soft, endless desert. The sock dodged a curious cat, whose whiskers twitched in surprise, slid past dust bunnies that scurried like tiny creatures and shimmied under the couch, where forgotten treasures sparkled, a marble, a coin, a crumb of cookie. Each discovery filled the sock with wonder and a growing sense of freedom. When the vacuum roared to life, the sock sprinted, heart pounding wildly, finding shelter behind a shoe, its fabric pressed tight against the cool floor. Night fell, and moonlight cast silver patterns on the floorboards. The sock gazed out a window, dreaming of distant lands beyond the garden and the stars. At dawn, a gentle hand scooped it up. The child, delighted, slid the sock onto her hand like a puppet. The sock danced and spun, telling stories of bravery and escape. Though it never found its pair again, the sock realized adventure was not about where you ended up, but the journey you took and the tales you gathered along the way. Rain lashed the empty city streets as the clock struck midnight. From the shadows, a figure emerged, face hidden behind a sleek black mask. Strapped to their back, a single vial of glowing blue liquid, pulsing faintly in the darkness. The city slept, unaware of the desperate race unfolding beneath their windows. Tires screeched as the masked courier zipped through narrow alleys, dodging potholes and puddles with practiced ease. An encrypted message buzzed urgently in their ear. Time is running out. The recipient's life depended on the secret medicine, one dose, the only hope against a deadly outbreak. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Someone else wanted the vial, and they were closing in fast. The courier's heart pounded, every second a battle against both time and unseen enemies. A barricade loomed ahead, but without hesitation, the courier vaulted over a dumpster, landing hard yet never slowing. At last, a dim apartment window flickered with a coded light. The courier scaled the fire escape with swift, silent movements, thrust the vial through a trembling hand, and vanished into the night as the clock struck 1. In a city of secrets and shadows, hope sometimes arrived wearing a mask, racing against time to save a life. Under a sky streaked with violet, old Sam trudged across his barren field, the earth cracked and dry beneath his worn boots. The seasons had been cruel, and hope faded like the sun behind drifting clouds. One evening, as Sam tilled the stubborn soil with slow, heavy strokes, his spade struck something hard. He knelt and unearthed a seed, no larger than a pebble, yet shimmering with a silver sheen that seemed to pulse faintly in the twilight. Curious and weary, Sam nestled it gently into the earth and whispered a wish for company, for life beyond the endless silence. That night, he watched from his porch as a faint glow pulsed rhythmically from beneath the soil, casting eerie shadows across the field. By dawn, a slender shoot had risen, its leaves sparkling like starlight, delicate and otherworldly. The plant grew swiftly, curling upward, unfurling petals that sang with soft, melodic chimes carried on the breeze. Sam marveled as the field bathed in gentle, silvery light, a beacon in the darkness. Soon, the villagers arrived, drawn by the strange and beautiful sight. Laughter and wonder filled the air, and for the first time in years, Sam's loneliness began to fade. Each evening, the silver blossom cast beams into the sky, as if calling to distant kin among the stars. Sam smiled quietly, knowing his wish had been heard, and that he would never be alone again. On a bright afternoon, families gathered in the park, their checkered blankets spread with sandwiches, fruit, and lemonade. Unnoticed beneath the feast, a little ant named Pip scurried quickly, searching for crumbs to bring back to his colony. Laughter and chatter filled the air as children played nearby. Suddenly, dark clouds rolled in, casting shadows over the sunny scene. A sudden chill swept through the air, and the first raindrops splashed onto Pip's delicate antennae. He looked up, alarmed, spotting the looming storm threatening the picnic. Without hesitation, Pip raced back to his colony, calling out to his fellow ants. Together, they formed a living chain, lifting the edge of the blanket and tugging it carefully over the food. The humans, busy packing up their things, didn't notice the tiny hero's efforts. As the rain began to fall steadily, the blanket shielded the treats, keeping them dry and safe. When the families returned for one last bite, they found everything miraculously spared from the downpour. Pip watched quietly from beneath a leaf, proud and unseen. The picnic was saved, not by chance, but by a tiny ant who dared to act. Sometimes, the smallest heroes make the biggest difference. The elevator jolted violently and came to an abrupt halt between floors, plunging Sarah and Marcus into complete darkness. Only the faint, eerie red glow of the emergency button offered any light. Sarah's hand trembled as she pressed it repeatedly. "Hello? Can anyone hear us?" she called out, voice cracking. Static crackled faintly through the speaker, but no clear response came. Marcus pulled out his phone, hoping for a signal, but the screen showed no service. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Suddenly the lights flickered weakly, revealing a set of numbers crudely scrawled in black marker on the cold metal wall. "Were those there before?" Sarah whispered, eyes wide. Marcus shook his head slowly, tracing the digits with his finger. "Looks like some kind of code." The elevator shuddered again, and a low, chilling buzz filled the air. Then the lights died completely. In the pitch black, they heard a mechanical whirring above them, something shifting or moving in the shaft. Sarah clung tightly to Marcus, heart pounding. He frantically pressed the panel buttons, but nothing responded. The numbers echoed in his mind. Desperate, he pressed the emergency button in the sequence of the code. A soft chime rang out, and the elevator groaned as power returned. The doors slid open at the lobby, and they stumbled out, gasping for air, hearts racing wildly. Neither spoke, unsure if they had escaped a simple malfunction or something far more sinister lurking in the shadows. On a rainy evening, Clara sat by her window, swirling her paintbrush in a cup of water. She dipped it into a pot of shimmering blue, then carefully traced a small sleepy fox onto the last page of her worn sketchbook. Yawning, she set her brush down and left her desk, unaware that a faint, magical glimmer still clung to the bristles. As the clock struck midnight, the blue outline began to shimmer softly, quivering with quiet anticipation. The fox blinked its painted eyes open, stretching tiny paws, and gazed curiously around the cluttered desk. Jars of paint glowed softly in the dim light, casting colorful shadows that danced on the walls. The fox sniffed the air, its nose twitching at the familiar scents of turpentine and paper. With a sudden leap, it bounded across the desk, leaving behind paw prints that sparkled briefly before fading away. It nudged a pencil, sending it rolling off the edge, then danced atop a palette, splashing dots of green and gold in playful arcs. The little creature explored every corner, its movements graceful and alive. When dawn crept in through the window, the fox curled up contentedly in the crook of Clara's brush. She awoke to find the doodle had vanished from her page, replaced by a delicate trail of iridescent footprints and a brush that shimmered with every color of the morning light. Eli tiptoed through the midnight woods, heart pounding with each crunch of fallen leaves beneath his feet. His flashlight flickered uncertainly, casting strange dancing shadows on the twisted branches overhead. Suddenly, something shiny caught his eye, a tiny, ornate key lying half buried in the damp earth, cold and heavy in his palm. Curiosity pulled him deeper into the dense trees until he stumbled upon an ancient oak, its massive trunk scarred and knotted, with a small door carved perfectly into the bark. It was so small and precise it seemed impossible. Holding his breath, Eli slid the key into the lock. It fit as if made for it. With a hesitant turn, the door creaked open, spilling a soft golden light into the dark forest. Eli crawled inside and found himself in a room filled with floating lanterns, fluttering paper birds, and books that whispered stories in hushed voices. In the center, a velvet pouch rested atop a pedestal. Inside was a single seed, warm and pulsing with a gentle light. A note lay beside it, inscribed with delicate letters, "Plant me where hope is lost." Eli smiled, feeling a quiet warmth spread through him as he tucked the seed safely into his pocket. As he stepped back through the door and closed it behind him, the woods seemed brighter, the shadows softer and less threatening. He knew he had discovered something extraordinary, and it was a secret he would cherish forever.